So, how do you make sure that you are finding the right real estate agent for you? This is a great question, and I think it's one that anyone who is in the beginning phases of searching for a realtor should be asking themselves. And what I think is a variable or a component that is often overlooked in these conversations, for starters, is do you like that person and do you get along with them? You could have the number one agent in the marketplace, and truthfully, if it's nails on a chalkboard whenever they start speaking with you, it is just not going to be a good experience for you, despite what their expertise is. So find someone that you enjoy talking to, you feel like is an active listener, and who is going to actively work to get you towards your goal. I've talked to many of people who have been working with very big agents and they feel like they're dismissed or they don't have enough time for them or they're not able to take their phone calls. That's definitely not the experience that you want to have when you are dealing with one of the biggest investments in your life. So the second part of this is like, clearly you don't want someone who is like the life of the party but isn't doing transactions on a regular basis. So you still want someone who has that level of expertise and experience. And with this being said, I probably would not advise people to jump right in with a part-time agent. I actually started part-time, and I am very much so kind of an all or nothing personality. I am either going to be 100% in or 100% out. So my experience in trying to do the both was not great. And it took me about a month or two of trying to do that to be like, this isn't working. I need to fully commit to this career path if it's something that I foresee myself doing. And I can honestly say, too, and looking back at that very short window of part time work, it was not, I wasn't doing any transactions. I was out starting to kind of show some properties, but I really needed to be fully immersed in it to understand it the way that I think someone should for people. So I think that's extremely important. I also would probably try to advise people to have an agent who is transacting at a certain level. I don't know exactly what that is or what I would recommend to someone, but I would like to think that like 10 transactions is probably too few. It's kind of borderline, I would say, but anything under that, I would be questioning some things. I'd think that through a little bit more. They should be working on a regular basis in the field so that they're able to advise you through a home inspection because they've seen it before, or through anything that can come up in a real estate transaction. Every single transaction is a little bit different, and you want someone who has run into those scenarios time and time again to be able to accurately advise you on the way that you're moving forward on this. Now, this isn't to say that if there's a new agent who's just getting started that like you can't even consider them. If they have a really great mentor that they're working with, some of those folks will hit the ground running and they are hustlers. And there is nothing wrong with an agent who has a year in the market and who is getting after it and doing, 20 to 25 transactions a year. Good for them. They're getting a lot of experience in a very quick fashion. So this kind of leads me into my next point. I actually started on a team when I first started in real estate, and I think it was the best way to learn the business because I had a really strong mentor. I had great relationships in place that really helped me thrive. But if you are someone who is relying exclusively on reviews and you've gone out there and you found the agent who has 400, 500, 600 reviews, just keep in mind that that is what I would consider almost like a super team. And sometimes with those super teams, you're going to have an agent who has a lot of other agents coming in underneath them, or a lot of recruiting that's taking place on a pretty regular basis. And you're going to get spun out to probably one of the more junior agents there. This is not the scenario with every team. If there's a team out there that has, 5, 10, whatever, some of those are really great, but just be aware of that. If you're someone who's like, you know what, I want to work with the biggest agent in the market because they have the most expertise, etc., and then you end up working with someone who has maybe a year to two of experience underneath them, it's just something to consider whether or not you feel like you're getting your bang for your buck in that situation. So it's definitely something to think about, I would say. And so as I'm kind of touching on the topic of reviews, I do think it's also important to mention that looking at reviews is a great way to figure out whether or not you are going to like that agent that you're working with, and kind of to get a little bit of a feel for them. So you can go Zillow, Google, Facebook, all of these are great places to go and take a look at reviews for that agent and just see what people have to say about them. If it's a situation where you're seeing all 5-star reviews, but you're not seeing anyone actually say anything about them, you might want to consider whether or not there's some bots at play, because that could definitely be a situation there. But find an agent who has decent reviews, they're responding to the people. I would like to think from my Google reviews that you can tell that I'm a pretty relational person just in how I respond back to my clients that have left me reviews. But it's a really good indication of how they do their business and who's willing to kind of go on record for them. And then last but not least, I do think when you are connecting with an agent, it's good to ask them kind of what their standard operating procedure is going to be for you. This applies on the listing and on the buy side. I have seen people before who have said that if an agent tells you that they're going to get you set up on like an MLS search, it's a red flag for not doing anything else. And I don't necessarily agree with that because that is a step that I like to take for my clients just to make sure that we are all on the same page and all looking at the same inventory. And I will give them a heads up if I see something really great hit the market. But in addition to that, there's the networking within the brokerage that takes place. And I also do quite a bit of, I probably shouldn't admit this, but a lot of cold calling. If I have a client who's looking in a specific neighborhood and there's nothing coming available, I will absolutely start calling people in that neighborhood to see if anyone is thinking about selling. I've probably had over the last couple of years, it's probably somewhere between 5 to 10 clients who have found properties from my cold calling. So it's just something to think about. So let me know in the comments if you have like something that you wish you would have thought of before you identified your real estate agent. I would love to kind of read those and see what you all have to say about it. But if you have any questions for me, my contact information is 515-210-5198. And I can assure you that if you connect with me, if I don't answer right away, you will be hearing back from me within that business day. And I would love to hear from you if you have any questions. Other than that, I hope you have a great day and that you found this information helpful.